All right, hello everyone.
Hey.
Welcome to episode number 8. This is our 8th coronavirus and retail community forum.
Is it really 8?
It is
wow.
8, isn't
8 weeks.
8 weeks. So
we've been doing this.
Yes, it's been kind of crazy, hasn't it? So today we're going to just take questions. One of the things that we're recognizing is that everybody's situation is different.
Really different.
Super
really
different.
Yeah.
Super different. I was so surprised. I don't know, it was about 2 weeks ago. I put a poll on Whiz Bang Retailers, it was the beginning of the last month. How were your sales? That would be in February. And I was amazed at how many people were up. One of our Platinum Mastermind group members is moving her store. And she just posted on Facebook, when things open, will you shop in my store? And our feeling, my prediction would have been that most people would have said no, but overwhelmingly, they all said yes. So with the recognition that everybody's situation is different and all the geographic issues are different all over the world, and that everybody's situation is different, and that our assumptions may be incorrect, we thought we would open things up for questions here today. Are there any questions yet, or should I?
Nope, not yet. We've got tons of folks here. We've got Texas. We've got Georgia. We've got New York. We've got Michigan. We've got all kinds of people on so far.
But while we're waiting for questions to come in, I think a good place for us to start is, are you making a plan? I had 2 email conversations, one with a current Platinum Mastermind group member and one with an alumni today. And both of them were talking about their plans. And both of them were being incredibly proactive. Our current member, Morgan Harris, what she said was, I wrote a vision. Remember, we talked about vision about a week ago on the podcast. And she said, I wrote a vision for what I want my store to be like when it's open, how I want it to feel, how I want my team to behave, how I want my customers to feel. So once she started with that vision, then now what she's in the process of doing is filling it out, right? Making a plan so that she can fulfill her vision. And Hope did sort of the same thing. Her process wasn't exactly the same, but what she did was she just said, look, I'm just doing all the things that we talk about all the time when I was in the Platinum Mastermind group. I'm driving it down. I'm letting my team help me with the planning. I'm getting back to basics. I'm making a plan with the help of my team. And both of them, it spoke to this idea that it's time. It's time. And no matter what happens with the pandemic, we're starting to see real political and social pressure to open up. Now, God knows, I hope that when we do open up, that people exhibit common sense, social distancing, are considerate, are good
human
beings. But it's happening. And so the question is are you prepared?
Yes.
Even here in the state of Michigan, I just read a report that our governor is sort of building a matrix, and it's built on region, risk, and industry. So, everybody's talking about it. The economy can only take so much more pressure. And so everybody's talking about how to intelligently open up. So things are going to open up. So,
but the virus isn't going away.
That's right.
So I think it's a question, I think for all of us, it's becoming a question of how do we encourage commerce while mitigating risk and being sensitive to our customers and employees, right?
That is absolutely correct.
It's this balance that we're all going to be working toward. It's the new normal.
Right.
So,
okay. Yes, it is the new normal. So I hope that you're thinking about it. One of the things that I've been talking about a lot on the Coronavirus and the Independent Retailer podcast every morning is this whole idea of we have to be proactive. Assess, adjust, advance. And, right now, The assess is things are loosening up. Adjust, what are you going to do to really make sure that you're getting the most from? And so we were talking about really, this whole idea of being good human beings and doing commerce. One of the things that I absolutely believe, and I talked about a little bit this morning on the podcast, is this whole idea of people want to feel safe when they shop. And one of the ways that you can make them feel safe is by communicating really, really clearly, what you're doing. And not only communicate it clearly, but over communicate it. So if any email that you send, there should be a link to your cleanliness sanitation process, or it could even be stated. You can state it over and over again on social media. You can have a big sign on your door, but over communicate it, because people are going to be nervous to be in store. They're going to feel a lot more safe. A lot of people in, curbside pickup, e-commerce, but people want to shop. So whatever you can do to make them feel safe while they shop is going to serve you well.
Yeah. So that leads us to actually the first question we had today in the comments. So if you do have questions, put them in the comments. I'm monitoring them, and I'm going to try to be getting to all of them. You guys have already had a bunch of great questions in there. Emily asked this question, Bob. She says, can you address
Hi, Emily.
Can you address the shift in the perception of email marketing? I have a strong feeling that my client base will not react positively to any form of email marketing. Many feel it's just too insensitive at this time.
All right. So this is interesting. This is super interesting. Emily, I want to encourage you to not take the remarks of the few and attribute it to the many.
Yeah.
It's just like social media. I mean, we were talking to somebody about a month ago, and they just got burned on social media. So I think that you need to be sensitive. I wouldn't blare deals, deal of the day, deal of the day, deal of the day. But it's time to start selling things.
Yeah, sure.
It's time to loosen up. Here at Whizbang Retail Training, I mean, this is 8 weeks, and we haven't sold anything. But now we're going, hey, it's time to start offering our offerings, because you, Mr. and Mrs. Retailer, need information. So the thought that your customers don't need what you sell is incorrect, and you selling it is not inappropriate. So if you start to, be totally insensitive about things, yes, it could be a problem. But if you are discreet and sensitive, if you make it fun and interesting, I don't think your feeling is incorrect. Well, you might start softly and build it up, but your customers want to hear from you. In fact, we had a conversation just 2 days ago, and 2 people said that it was with a group, with the Platinum Mastermind group, and 2 people said they hadn't sent a single email for weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. One of them because for sensitivity's sake. The other one because he was too busy. He was in one of those businesses. But what she said was, people responded positively.
Yes.
Let's go back to what I talked about this morning, the whole idea of the emotional bank account.
This is really the crux of the matter, right?
I think that's right. If you built the relationship the right way before this all happened, if you have good relationships with your customers, they're probably wondering, where in the world have you been?
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably the right answer. They're probably wondering, where in the world have you been? And so you don't have to try to sell things. You can just start communicating. So I think that's how I would approach it, Emily. I would start by sending out some emails, see what people say. And again, if 1 or 2 people complain, well, that don't make that indicative of the many. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we all need to get back to business. And I'm including Susan and I. We all need to get back to business. This is what we do. We are entrepreneurs. We figure shit out. We're willing to risk a little, and we're willing to risk the ire of perhaps one or two people to get things going again. Because just because one or two people complain doesn't mean the majority of your customers aren't happy to hear from you again.
Yeah, and I think that the point is to not be insensitive when you're sending your emails, right? You don't have to send one of these emails like, every bank and insurance company and we care about the safety of our customers. Like you've all had 100 of those emails in your inbox. It doesn't have to be like that. But whatever the personality of your store is, Emily, and whatever the fun stuff that you used to do, or the useful stuff, or the interesting stuff, send that.
They want to hear from you.
They do want to hear from you.
They do want to hear from you.
They do want to hear from you. And yes, you do have to be sensitive, especially depending on where you are in the country. People have been sick themselves. People's family members have been sick. They may have died. So you don't want to be glib, but also people are sad and can use an uplift.
They're looking for a sense of normalcy,
yeah,
comfort.
Yeah.
In your store, if you've built the relationship the right way, provides comfort.
You could uplift them. You can comfort them. You can provide
amusement, distraction,
all those things without being insensitive.
And so let's go back to something we've talked about several times. This whole idea, and if you haven't watched this morning's podcast, I would encourage you to go and do that, because we were talking about the emotional bank account. And, one of the things that we've been talking about all along is live social media, Facebook Live, Instagram Live. And this whole idea that there's two tracks, and one track is putting deposits into the emotional bank account with educational content, with content that isn't social selling. And so if you do that, so Emily, I don't know what kind of store you have, but let's say you're in women's fashion. You could have a fashion show. You could do spring trends. You could do summer trends. You could do all sorts of things that are of value, are interesting, are entertaining to your customers. And that's how you could start emailing them again. I'm doing this thing. Mm-hmm. Would you like to attend? We'd love to see you. We miss you.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. All right. So Nancy had a good question here, Bob. Mm-hmm. This is Nancy Engel, and she says, how do you get others that you work with to think outside the box and not just go with what's always worked in the past, because it probably won't work again in the future?
Yeah, that's right. So, but before we go any farther, at 3:00 today, we have a Whiz Bang Retail Marketing Club meeting. And in that meeting, we're going to be talking about post-pandemic marketing, because Nancy, you are absolutely correct. It is like the world of retail, and the world of retail marketing has been, think of it as the old snow globe. You turn it up and you shake it, and then you wait for it to settle. So when it comes to, it's not just marketing, it's everything about your store. But there's two things that I want to talk about. One is the opportunity to reset your culture, and the other is to take the people who are with you still and to get them more involved in the way that you're thinking. So the first about resetting your culture, and I talked about this in one of the podcasts, is this is a perfect opportunity for you to reset your culture. If there are people you don't want with you at the end of this, now is the time to let them go. If they're furloughed, don't bring them back. Now is the time to say, what do I want my culture to be, and who do I want to be there with me? So that's the first thing, is maybe you've got the wrong people with you. And if you do have the wrong people with you, now is the time to replace them. Because there's no room for mediocrity in the post-pandemic world. The second thing is something that Susan and I call ADD, the ADD method. And ADD stands for ask, discuss, and decide. And it's a way to get your team members to start thinking with you about a problem or an opportunity. So let's go through the model real quickly. And by the way, if you want to a more robust exploration of this, if you go to, there's an episode on it in Real Retail TV. But first of all, you ask your team, how can we do business differently in the future? Or what are our customers going to want? Frame the question in such a way so that it doesn't lead the answer, but that it opens it up to conversation. So really what you're doing is you're taking your team and you're tapping into their creativity, their experience, their wisdom, their skills. You're essentially creating a little mastermind. So that's the ask. Figure out the question. Then there's discuss. And so a discuss is time bound. So you say, we're going to talk about this for the next 3 days. Let's say it's a marketing. What does our grand reopening look like? Would be a perfect ADD. So, then you discuss. And so it's time bound. Say, we're going to talk about this a lot for the next, till Friday. And so until Friday, you as a leader get really, really, really intense about leading the conversation. If you're having a phone conversation, hey, did you have a chance to think about that? If you have a Slack board, you pose the question, you ask the question. If anybody replies, you immediately reply back. But you really, really get focused on a discussion. And then the D is for decide. So if using the example of what are we going to do to reopen, then at the end, you make a plan. And you present them with the plan. And you say, what do you think about the plan? If they don't like the plan, you go back. But you see what you're doing, Nancy, is you're bringing people along. Rather than you telling them how it's going to work, you're asking them to help you figure it out. If you're taking notes, write this down. Let them help you plan the fight, and they won't fight the plan.
Yep.
If you tell them what to do, they're not going to think outside the box. But if you allow them to play with you outside the box, all of a sudden, the right people will play along.
Yeah, and the ones that don't want to play.
That's right. That's why I preface it with that. This could be a great opportunity to reset your culture.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So this is a great question from Sherry. She says,
Hi, Sherry.
I'm doing a soft opening on May the 4th, next Monday. She's got her precautions and processes in place. And she said about 10% of my customers are loudly saying that it's too early. And 90% of my customers are extremely supportive. What do I say to the naysayers?
What you say, go ahead. I think you take that.
Yeah, sure. I think, Sherry, the thing that you have to do with all of this is meet your customers with where they are, with what they need. So the customers that are saying that it's too soon, say, gosh, I completely understand your concerns. We're concerned too. That's why we're offering free shipping. That's why we're offering customer pickup. Would you like to set up a virtual personal shopping appointment with Bob? He'll call you on FaceTime, walk around the store with you, and we can ship to you whatever you need. No need for you to come in. We want you to feel completely comfortable. So meet those customers with where they are with what they need. I
think she's also saying though that they're saying that they shouldn't be open at all. That it's socially irresponsible.
I get it.
Okay, good.
I get it.
But this goes back to
But you're not going to probably change their mind about that.
No, that's right. And there's going to be 10% who are going to feel that way next July, next August. Right. Not this coming one, but next August.
Well, and there's probably 10% that are pissed off that you're open, that you're closed now, right? So there's going to be that 10% on either side, right? And so you just have to be able to acknowledge that we are all in different places on this journey. This is what the regulations are in my state right now. These are the choices I've made for my employees, for my customer. I understand if you're different. Let's figure out a way to make you happy.
Yes, and this goes back to what I've talked about earlier. over communicate. So, what I talked about this morning is that your customers are looking for safety and comfort. And if you really, this is what we're doing. This is a copy of our opening checklist. Literally, we have a table in the front. Nobody can shop. You walk in the front door. You've got 6 feet. Everybody's wearing a mask. Tell us what you need and we will go get it for you. So really communicate to them that you understand, to Susan's point, that you understand their perspective, but this is what you are going to do, but this is how you're going to do it.
Sherry, a different Sherry.
Oh, okay. Hi, different Sherry.
Hi, different Sherry. This is Sherry Hale. Has a kind of a related question. And her related question is about the best balance. What's the best balance between safety? Do you put the table up and not let anybody in your store? Do you require a mask? Do you hand out gloves? Do you, between safety and inviting customers back in to shop again? And maybe you've got a different opinion about this, but my opinion right now, Sherry, is that none of us know what the right balance is.
That's right.
And you're going to have to take your best stab, being a good human being and a good business person. You're going to have to take your best stab in the beginning at what you think the right balance is for you, your staff, and your customers. And then you're going to have to adjust. So to your model that you like to always talk about, assess, adjust, and advance, that AAA model, you're going to, a week into it, a day into it, a month into it, you're going to have to be constantly assessing, is my balance correct? Did I hit it right on the nose the first day? What do we need? Because the first day, there's going to be problems.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Shit's going to go wrong.
So I'll use the example of Clay and Patrick. So two of our clients, they were in the Business Breakthrough Accelerator. They have a bike shop in Colorado Springs. And so actually they wanted to have a call because they said, you're probably hearing so much bad news. We want you to hear some good news. And so, they're absolutely crushing it. They hit their aggressive progressions, pre-pandemic projections for April by the 8th of April. And so I was like, wow, that's awesome. And so I said, so what are you doing for safety? And so they have curbside, they have shipping, but then they said, a lot of people still want to come in the store. The state of Colorado mandated that they could only put 10 people in the store. So they only let 5 people in the store. Yeah. When people came into the store, they were issued a mask. They had to wear mask and gloves, both provided by Ascent Cycle. They had somebody that was with them, and when they left, they took off their disposable gloves, and everything that they touched while they were in the store was wiped down. Now, not every store can do that, but here's the thing. There are lots and lots of bike shops in Colorado Springs. And so when I said, so what do you attribute your success to, Clay? What do you contribute your success to, Patrick? We're the only people who are keeping normal hours. People are dying to shop. People are dying to get their gear. People are dying to get out and ride. And half the stores are closed. Half of them are keeping limited hours. We're being safe, but we're being there for our customers. And the other point that was brought out during the course of the conversation is they're stealing market share right and left. They're stealing market share right and left from the people who aren't open, but they are being safe. They are being good human beings. They are being good members of their community. So you can absolutely do both, I think.
Absolutely. But my point is that you might not know exactly what that balance is until you've opened and tried it. And you've discovered, I'm not safe enough. I'm a little too safe. And you have to adjust, right? You have to adjust and change. And Clay and Patrick had been doing this for a while, so they had gotten to that good point of balance, right? So Terry King has a great question.
Hi, Terry.
Yeah. thinking of you, Terry.
Yes.
What about apparel returns? All the big stores are not taking back returns. And in fact, I'll add on to this question and say that as
Canada.
of last Thursday in Canada, the government has mandated no returns whatsoever. And I don't know if they're going to relax that standard or not.
So if any of our Canadian friends are on right now, our hearts go out to you because Amazon's taking returns.
Yeah.
All the e-commerce sites are allowed to take returns, but your local independent or any brick and mortar aren't allowed to. So it goes back to the same thing, Terry. This whole idea of can you be safe and can you make sure that you feel that what you're doing is keeping your team and your customers, your team and your customers safe, and can you communicate it clearly? So if I was in apparel, right now they have determined that the coronavirus can't live past, I think it's 120
degrees
120
on fabric.
On fabric. But a good quality steamer blows steam at 140 degrees.
No.
So what would I do? I would say that anything that gets tried on is steamed and quarantined. Steamed and quarantined for 2 days.
Yeah.
Anything that is returned is steamed and quarantined for 2 days.
Or 24 hours or whatever.
Or whatever. But again, make sure that you're keeping everybody safe and that you're over communicating to your customers. So that's what I would do with returns. It's a great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. And the same thing with hard surfaced items. They can be disinfected, but I think putting them into quarantine for a certain number of days after take the return, disinfect it, quarantine it so it's safe. You want to be a good human, but you need to be a good business person as well.
And it kind of goes to what I talked about this morning in the podcast, this whole idea of you build the emotional bank account to lock down your customers' loyalty. And, if they're not allowed to return what they buy from you, but they can return to Amazon, that's not the best way to lock down the loyalty.
The Canadian just saying that it's Saskatchewan.
Oh, it's just Saskatchewan.
It's just Saskatchewan so far. That's just no return. So that's good. Good question here from Cheryl. She says, "Do you think it's inappropriate to take people's temperatures before they enter the store?"
Oh, that's a tough one. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's inappropriate. However, I don't think it's really a very good indicator of whether someone is infected with coronavirus or not. As a matter of fact, not everybody who gets COVID-19 gets a fever. So right there, and also for sure, people are contagious for some period of days, even weeks, before they start showing symptoms like a fever. So I don't think it's inappropriate. I just think it's ineffective, and I think it's false safety.
That's what I was going to say.
I think it's false safety.
I think that the whole mask and here's gloves. If you're going to shop in my store, here's masks and gloves would be a safer and a more socially acceptable way to ask, because everybody, people are wearing masks all the time now. So I think that would be a better play, so to speak.
Yeah. And, one of the things that they're saying about masks, and this makes a lot of sense to me, is even though the regular fabric masks don't give you a lot of protection as a healthy person, like if Bob had coronavirus and I was wearing a mask, that mask would give me some small amount of protection, more protection if the infected person wears the mask. But when you have both people, both the infected person and the healthy person wearing the mask, the risk gets really pretty small. So this idea of having everyone wearing a mask, including you and your team, is probably, I think that's a more effective way to help prevent the spread than taking temperatures.
I think it's more effective, and I think it's more less obtrusive. I think that you can make that request a lot easier than you can make the request that somebody does.
Well, they've got those temperatures that are just like across your forehead, but
Anyway.
So that's interesting. Andy has a good idea. She's got a yarn shop and says that what they're thinking about doing for their reopening strategy is being open like every other day. So that there's that day in between, that 24 hours, and they've got all that soft goods where the virus dies off. So again, it's just it's mitigating the exposure for both the team and the customers.
So let me suggest an alternative strategy for you, Andy. So I love the way that you're putting safety first. I really, really do. But what I'm encouraging you to think about is not being open every other day. How can I do business on those days when I'm not open?
Oh, yeah.
Susan Glenn Wallace is another Business Breakthrough Accelerator alumni, and she's just crushing it right now with Facebook Lives and doing social selling and doing, virtual sit and knits, or what do they do? Knit and bitch, or what do they do?
Sit and stitch.
Sit and stitch.
Right.
You all right?
Yeah. Just
But so we want to do business. People are anxious for us to do business. I think that this is what I'm starting to feel from all of my conversations, from the WizBev, from you, from this community, is that people want to shop. We want to do business. There are other ways to do business besides being open. And as long as you're being safe and you're being creative, I think that you can find other things so that's why I'm suggesting, okay, if you feel most comfortable being open every other day or closing every other day, depending on how you look at it, I would be very, very proactive about finding ways to do business, to market my business on the days that I'm closed.
Yeah. Or I just had this crazy idea also.
Watch out.
I don't know if this works. It's probably hard, but I kind of like it. Andy, what if you took your yarn supply and you kind of split it, like each SKU set, like you've got like 10 skeins of,
Skeins, all right.
I know.
She's laying out some knitting terminology.
Oh,
there.
yeah. Wait, I'm about to do some more. Maybe you've got 10 skeins of super bulky lamb's wool pride.
Yeah. Oh.
How's that?
And some needles.
Yeah. So, but what about
good.
this? Could you put 5 on one side of the store and 5 on the other, and have an odd side day, and let people shop on that side on odd days, and let people shop on the other side on even days? I don't know if your inventory allows for that, but I like your creativity around.
I love it.
Around that.
Or you just put most of it in plastic bags and just have one skein. Is that what it is? Skein. One skein out, so they can touch one skein, but they can only one skein of each SKU that you have they can touch, and everything else is safe. And then those skeins go back in the back. So you sort of have a rotating, dangerous skein, so to speak. But I love the way you're thinking, but I would encourage you to start getting creative about ways to continue to do business.
Yeah, interesting. Little conversation about gloves versus masks on here. And a lot of folks really thinking that maybe gloves are not as effective as masks. And I tend to agree, because the problem with gloves, and I say this to you all the time when you're going to the grocery store or whatever, is that as soon as you...
When I'm going to the bars?
Yeah, if only, right? As soon as you touch something outside with that glove at the grocery store or in a store or whatever, as soon as you touch something with that glove, it's potentially got the coronavirus on the outside, and then you touch your face, or so it's. I think you have to practice extremely good hygiene using gloves, way more so than with a mask. I do like the idea of what Clay and Patrick are doing, though. And what they're doing is they're giving gloves out when you first come into the store, tough though with an apparel store. You need to feel the fabric.
Yeah.
With a yarn store,
Yeah.
with a quilt store,
Yeah.
with a sewing
Yeah.
shop, tough when you
Yeah.
need to feel the product. But a bike is, not so much. So what they're doing is they're giving gloves out when people are walking into the store. What it's doing really is protecting the store from anything that's on their hands, rather than protecting their hands from anything that's in the store. So it's a switch. So they're giving gloves to people when they come in, and they're requesting that they peel them off and put them in the trash at the door on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a little different switch. Gloves are trickier. Yeah, great. Susan Glenwallace says, "Yep, I've had my best month ever, and my doors aren't even open, running out of yarn." No doubt, because people are bored at home and they want to knit. So good for you, Susan.
But I want to kind of play on what's happening here. So Susan, good for you, Susan. Susan made lemonade out of lemons, right? She got on it. She changed her business model. She started doing lives, which she wasn't doing before. She's having great success with it. But what is really happening here is she's getting her customers and her prospects, the people who are knitters but might not be her customers yet, used to watching her. So one of the things that we're really encouraging all of you to do is, if you built momentum doing something during the pandemic, don't stop doing it when your doors are open. We're calling it omni-experiential. Everybody's going to want to shop the way that they want to shop. Everybody's going to want to interact with you, have an experience with you the way that they want to interact. So if I were Susan, I would, I would hire some more people to work in the store so that I had the bandwidth to continue to do those live things. Because now you can use the live things not to ship, but you can use those live things to drive people into the store for curbside pickup, for shipping. So don't stop doing something that works.
Yeah, it's. I think Andy brings up a really great point. He says, "Look, you can overthink this to no end, right? You can, and like I said earlier in this podcast, I really think that we are past the point of thinking that that coronavirus is going to go away and we're all going to be perfectly safe out in the world again." We are in the mode now of mitigation and, protecting to the point that we are able. And there's just no way that we're going to completely eliminate risk.
Right. And I think that something that's happened too is these shelter in places we have in most places flatten the curve. And, most people, there was a very, very common argument that this is no more dangerous than the common flu. And that argument has been dispelled. It has been dispelled. So now it's a question of how do we get back to as normal as possible? Because I don't know about you guys, but the Nagin family can't stay in our house for the next 8 weeks.
Well, I'm worried more about 18 months.
Right. Well, but everything, I guess the point that I was going to make, that I was trying to make, that I didn't make very well, is I think you're going to see a lot more common sense out there. So that if you're displaying common sense, that your customers who also feel the way that you feel, meaning that they want to feel comfortable, they want to feel safe, are going to respond positively to you behaving that way.
Yep, exactly. I'm doing something. You can keep talking.
I'm done talking.
Uh-oh. Bob's out of words. It's a miracle, people.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get, somebody wanted to know where Susan Glenn Wallace's shop.
Okay.
I was looking up that.
All right. So,
website.
Anyway, but it's a whole new world. And it's so interesting right now to see the new reality starts to emerge. In fact, I'm going to make another plug here for the Retail Marketing Club, and an observation more than a plug. Last month in the Retail Marketing Club, it was 4 weeks ago, things were starting to happen. And so what we did was we took the Whizbang retail marketing system and put it through and showed it through the lens of the coronavirus. But now it's all kind of changed, and we can really start to make strategies. So I think that's where just about everybody is. And your questions all indicate that also, is now we're really thinking about how do we emerge from that. In fact, Susan and I right now, starting tomorrow, are going to start working on an opening checklist for all of you.
Yeah. So one of my questions for you guys is, how's your team feeling about coming back to work? I'm really interested. Are they excited? Are they nervous? Are they nervous and excited? Have they all quit? Are you glad that they're gone? What's going on with the people who are working for you? How's that going?
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested.
I'm also interested in your sales. I know a lot of people who are up, a lot of people who are closed and up. So, how are your sales? And if they're way up, what do you attribute it what do you attribute it to? Susan Glenn Wallace, she's all about doing stuff live. So if you're up, what's happening?
Yeah. We've got a lag time in between, so we're still there.
All right. Okay.
Good. Yeah. What else do we want to talk about today?
Well, let's talk about, this is kind of a United States specific thing, and I really haven't thought it through entirely yet, but I'd like to address it. A lot of people, their employees are staying home and they're making more money than they were when they were working on unemployment, because there's the extra $600. And some people are really upset and angry with it. And, like I said, I haven't articulated it entirely yet. I plan on making a podcast about it this week. But I think that, one of the things that's coming on very strongly to me emotionally is that as a leader, you need to be very, very sensitive to other people's situations. There's a tendency to go, this is how I'm feeling. You work for me. You need to feel this way or do things this way. And everybody's situation is different. And some of your employees have legitimate reasons for not wanting to come back to work.
Sure.
They have compromised family members. They, here at the Nagin house, I'm over 60 years old. But Joe was like, both of our sons are like,
I'm not.
I know. It's Susan's birthday on Saturday.
Oh, it is.
But their sentiment is, look, if we got the coronavirus, it would be bad, but it probably wouldn't be that dangerous. But their concern is for not Susan, because she's not 60 yet.
That's right.
But for me, right? Or for even more specifically for Susan's mother. So you never know what the situation is at home. And so be sensitive to that. And the second thing to recognize is not everybody is all in on what you do and how you do it. There's a lot of people who just work for the paycheck. Mm-hmm. And they may do a good job working for the paycheck. But for you as a manager, an owner, or a leader to be somehow disappointed, or I've seen words like disgusted, that they don't want to come back to work when they can make more money with their children staying at home, I think it's not being fair either. So I'm just asking you, if you start to feel that way, to really sit back and look at it from your employee's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a bunch of responses. I'll read Angela's, because I think this is kind of...
Hi, Angela.
Scogan.
Yeah.
So this is a little indicative. She said, some of the teams really ready to come back. 15% are trying not to come back.
Right.
They just want to continue to be at home and not work and get their unemployment check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So this is great. I'm so glad that you shared that, Angela, because now, I talked about this whole idea of this is an opportunity for you to reset your culture. Now, of that 15%, those people, let's just say it's, 4 or 5 people. Let's say it's 5 people. Two of them you may want to have come back, right? Even though they'd rather sit at home. Not sit at home. That's not correct. There's homeschooling. There's all sorts of, they'd rather be at home and collect the money and do what they do at home than be at work. If they're worth bringing back, bring them back. If they're not worth bringing back, if they're those marginal employees, don't bring them back. This is the chance for you to reset your culture.
Yeah, it's if you don't want them back. So Angela also just made a great comment. This is a marketing idea that she's been doing. She said, we just made a 3D video. So if you've got the new camera, like the one that you have with the double lenses, you can make these 3D videos. Just made a 3D video with a local realtor for a fun Find a Hidden Object contest. You win a prize, but really it's more about walking the store front to back, up and down, just to find this one little hidden object.
Right. Yes. I mean,
I love that idea. That's super fun.
Having said that, I mean, I think that's a super fun idea, but you want to have some signage when they're walking around looking for the stuff.
No, it's just a video that she's playing on social media.
So it's virtual. Yes,
virtual.
Got it. That's great. Wonderful idea.
Yeah, super fun. Cindy says, since we're essential, our team has been working the whole time. They've worked hard and have taken on all the changes. Very proud of my team. They have to be feeling stressed. With my compromised family member, your husband, I've been largely working from home, so I'm frustrated with having to lead mostly remotely. That's tough. But they've taken it all in stride. I am doing our own company morning video, inspired by the Morning Whiz Bang podcast. So that's
wonderful.
Great.
That's great. So, this is a wonderful comment, too, that leads to something. Our best clients are staying in regular communication with their team. Some of them have team members that are furloughed, and so you can't make it mandatory. It's unfair to say you have to be here, but I'm not paying you for it. But if you have a regular meeting, morning meeting, just short and sweet, again, the people who are, your core people are going to participate. They're going to show up. One of the things that's so great about this, and it's sort of one of those hidden benefits, is people are really revealing themselves. Your team members who are really on your team, who you want with you in the future, they're revealing themselves. The people who just are working for the paycheck and don't really care about you or what you're doing very much, that's revealing itself. Your vendors who are your partners are revealing themselves.
Absolutely.
Your vendors who are not your partners. The truth is coming out in times of crisis, and the truth will set you free. So, hi, Joe. Oh, I thought you were coming in for something. Okay.
Joe's eating a sandwich, having a little lunch during the podcast. It's all right, Joe.
I just came here to make sure everything's good.
Everything's good. You want to come say hello?
I guess.
He's going to come say hi.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
All right,
Hello,
Joe.
everybody.
All
I'm Joe. I'm Bob and Susan's son. I don't know.
There you
Anything
go.
else?
No, that's it.
How's
That's
your
it.
sandwich?
It's delicious.
What
Okay,
kind of
good.
sandwich do you have?
I have salami, Swiss, mayo, and mustard.
What a tortilla, I see.
Yes.
All
We're
right.
out of bread.
Okay.
So,
Out of bread, darn
All
it.
right. Well, okay, good.
have a good one with me,
Yeah,
retailers.
all right. Thanks for dropping in, Joe.
Sorry. It was just a little momentary.
There we go.
Cheryl
That's
says,
right.
hi, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right, great. Summer says she's got one person that she's not going to bring back. They weren't the best, and just her payroll was too high before.
Yeah.
And this is her opportunity
Right.
to make that adjustment. So that's really great.
And I think that we should bring something else up. I know that I suffer from this, and I'm sure you do a little bit too, honey. This idea that if we set it that everybody heard it. So, and that's just not true. So last week on the community forum, we were talking about this, and Susan made the wonderful point that it's not just about bringing back your frontline staff, your retail sales associates. As things change here, when you start thinking about your culture after, post-pandemic culture, your entire retail accountability blueprint may change dramatically. Entirely. So if you have the master plan advantage, you know what the retailer accountability blueprint is. Basically, it's an organizational chart that we've customized for independent retailers like you. But it could be that right now your retailer's accountability blueprint has owner, manager, frontline employees, a couple people in the back. That now it would be owner, manager, general manager, frontline employees, web store, social media manager, videographer. So, things are changing. Like, I'm going to go back to Susan because I know she's here and we've used her as an example. So, Susan, when you're able to open up, especially since you've gained so much market share by doing all these live events, you're going to need more people on the floor, but you're also going to need other people in the back of the house to allow you to continue to do these great things that you're doing. So that's really a function of starting to think about who do you need in the future, because there could be dramatic changes in the way that you're doing business. So many people have started e-commerce sites, just in the last 3 weeks. Loker's Shoes in Holland just posted on their Positive Focus on Sunday on Whiz Bang Retailers. A 103-year-old shoe store finally has e-commerce, right? And good for them. That's great. But guess what? E-commerce is a whole other ballgame. So when you look at, if I was Loker's Shoes, okay, I need somebody to manage my website. I need somebody to take pictures. I need somebody, so you have to think about your business in a different light, because your post-pandemic business is going to be different than your pre-pandemic business. Yeah. Marketing, leadership, how you manage your inventory, all of these things.
Well, it's just like, and you may shift you're just maybe shifting your FTEs around a little bit. Scott makes the good point. Hey, I need to keep my payroll up to get the maximum forgiveness for my loan.
Right.
Sure you do.
Perfect.
But maybe, so I think a lot of you are going to find things like, well, what I was doing was we didn't do a whole lot of shipping. So my frontline staff would just do a little bit of shipping in between customers on the floor.
Yeah.
But now maybe there's so much shipping that you can have a whole part-time person do it, or even a whole full-time person. So it's about, just think that your needs and your structure of your employees, your retailer accountability blueprint may be different.
That's right.
As you go forward.
And I think just in general, one of the biggest fallacies that some people have, and I hope that you don't, and if you've been a regular listener to the podcast, I don't think you are, because I've been pounding home the point, is that it's all changed. In that if you're hoping that business will go back to usual, you're fooling yourself.
At least for a while.
And that's what we're going to talk about on the Retail Marketing Club today. Pre-pandemic, the function of marketing was to drive people into the store. That, sure. there was social media marketing, but that was really, there was some social selling, there was a little e-commerce, but for most small to mid-size independent brick and mortar retailers, the object of marketing was to get people into the store. That's why you had promotions. That's why you did all the things that you do. Now people are going to want to buy differently. Some people are going to want to come in the store. Some people are going to want curbside pickup. Some people are going to want delivery. And you need to meet your people where they are. And this whole shift in the way that you're thinking about your business, it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. This whole, assess, adjust, advance.
Yeah.
Assess, adjust, advance, because every day it's changing. And that model is even more important right now when everything's
up in the air.
Everything's changing. So every day you're assessing where you are, you're adjusting what you're doing, and you're moving on to the next day. And, and you might be doing that a couple times a day even.
Yeah, hopefully not a couple times.
Hopefully not, yes.
But yeah, a lot of people are hiring. A lot of people on here saying they're hiring. They're going to give raises to their best people who've really, stuck with them through this pandemic. So great comments about your team. And
can I speak to that for a moment?
Sure.
So I love, please don't get me wrong. I love paying employees well. I've always paid well. But I think until this whole thing shakes out, you would be better served if you have PPP money to give bonuses rather than raises. Yeah. Because once you give somebody a raise, then it becomes, sort of your cost of doing business rather than a one-time cost. And I think that the impact would probably be greater too. A really nice gift with a nice bonus, whatever you can afford. I think that it would have a bigger gesture value, and it gives you more flexibility as things happen. I was on a town hall meeting with Mark Weiss and Ashley Alderson. Mark was saying that everything is a variable cost. The way that he's looking at doing business and how he's, this is from Management One, and everybody, he's recommending to all his retailers that everything is a variable cost. So that if you have employees, you only pay them commission. And I don't agree with that, but it's an interesting look at it. This idea that everything is paid in relationship to the income that you make. It's an interesting idea, and it sort of ties into this. Once you give somebody a raise, you can't take it back. Once you give them a bonus, it's done.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of interesting, good comments. Andy said that what he's doing is when customers come in, especially if they're wearing masks, he asks, would you be more comfortable if I put my mask on? And again, I love that because it's about WWMCW. What would my customer want? How can I meet them where their needs are? You don't know what their situation is at home, who they're living with.
Or how they feel.
Maybe they have anxiety and they're super scared about this. I know I have a personal friend who has anxiety, and this whole thing has been incredibly hard for her. So you just don't know. So I love that.
Me too.
Been hard for you too?
No, anxiety.
Not so much.
I'm sorry.
Size, perhaps, but not anxiety. I love it. That's great. Good stuff. Okay. Keep talking and I'll...
okay. We're coming to the end of our hour. And so I'm just going to again mention that at 3:00, there's a meeting of the Retail Marketing Club. We're going to talk about, it's going to be 3 levels. We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about how retail is changing, how marketing retail is changing. And then we're going to talk about some very, very specific tactics around marketing post-pandemic and marketing when you open up. $29 a month to be a member of the Retail Marketing Club. You can cancel at any time. I guarantee you that just what you'll learn today is worth way, way more than $29. So if you go to whizbangtraining.com and go into the products drop down, you can find the Retail Marketing Club and join. We'll let you in. You can be in before 3:00. So I'd encourage you to do that, because right now I think that there's, of course you need tactics to get you through this, but a lot of what I believe is super important to get you through, not only through the pandemic, but to really, really position yourself for big success when this is all done, is to, really start to think strategically, to have the right mindset pieces in place, to have the right strategies in place, that it's a bigger picture game than just, hey, here's a marketing idea for today. How you're thinking about leadership, how you're thinking about the structure of your company, how you're thinking about your marketing, how you're thinking about your inventory mix is all super, super important.
Yep, I agree. Did you just, I'm sorry, I was trying to read through
That's okay.
Did you talk about the Retail Mastery System 2.0 guide that we sent out to them on Friday?
No, that's a great,
Yeah.
that's a great, there's 2 other free resources, both of them that tie into the Retail Mastery System, but neither of them that you have to have the Retail Mastery System.
And there's a ton of great info.
Right, exactly. So even if you can't apply everything in it, if you don't have the Retail Mastery System, which you should, by the way, in the retail, in Whiz-Bang Retailers, there is a link to the Quick Start Guide. And the Quick Start Guide is what people get to get them, on their Retail Mastery System journey, 2.0 journey. But starting at page 10, there's a retail assessment. And it's a really thorough assessment. And when you're done filling it out, it'll probably take you about 20 minutes to fill out. You'll really see where your opportunities are. And you'll really also see where there's big holes in your skill set. And so you can choose any way you want to, address those holes in your skill sets. One of them would be investing in the Retail Mastery System. But that's there. And what Susan was mentioning was on Friday, if you have our tip of the week, if you get our tip of the week, on Fridays we send out sort of a recap, and Susan created a wonderful guide. And tell us a little bit about that guide.
Yeah, it's just what we did was we went through each one of the modules in the Retail Mastery System, and we pulled out the lessons that we thought were most important and most applicable for you during this pandemic and as we are coming out of the lockdown. And we gave you the twist. What's the modification? How to think about this particular lesson differently, how to use this information in a new and different way. So I think there's really a ton of great information. Got to be 30 or 40 great ideas, really fleshed out in that document. It's 21 pages long. So,
and if you know anything about Susan, when Susan makes a document, it's a good document.
Well,
am I right, Joe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Leave the poor guy alone. He's still eating a sandwich over there. Anyway, it came out last Friday in the email. If you're not on our email list, you should sign up. Go to whizbangtraining.com and get sign up on the tip of the week.
So we're going to have to post that someplace or make it available. We'll post it on Whiz-Bang Retailers. So if you're not a member of Whiz-Bang Retailers, join.
Yeah, or they should sign up and get the tip of the week so we can send it to them.
Well, but we sent it Friday. Are we
going
to
send it again?
Send it again.
We're going to send it a couple different times.
Got it. But again, both of those are great resources that really help you think strategically about your business. You don't have to have the Retail Mastery System 2.0 to really get a lot of value from those free resources. Finally, if you don't have the Retail Mastery System or the Retail Sales Academy or Master Plan Advantage, all of our signature products are at special pricing right now. We want you to have them. We want you to use that information to build a better business. So,
and I'll put that link in there right now.
Okay.
Good. A lot of people are asking questions about the Retail Mastery System.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to quickly talk about the Retail Mastery System or just send them to the page?
Yeah, Priyo says, is the Retail Mastery System separate from the Retail Sales Academy and the Retail Marketing Club?
That's a great question.
Super quick answer.
So the Retail Mastery System is our signature product. It was developed. The 1.0 was developed in 2008. 5,000 or 6,000 copies of it have been sold around the world.
To retail store owners.
To retail store owners like you. It is the most comprehensive training program for independent retailers anywhere in the world. 11 modules, 11 critical skills. It's all online. It's a game changer. It truly is a game changer. But that is for owners and managers. The Retail Sales Academy is our online sales training platform, and that is for your frontline employees. I will teach your people how to sell. And believe me, I know how to sell at retail, and I know how to teach your people how to sell at retail. The Retail Marketing Club is we meet once a month. It's $29 a month. It's our lowest priced product, but it's also a tremendous value. And the final product that I want to mention is the Master Plan Advantage, and that is sort of that big picture structural look. So if you're interested in building your business, we have lots and lots of resources. And most of them are available in monthly payment plan. If you're ready to skill up, if you're ready to take your game to the next level, we would love to be part of that journey. But if you go to our coronavirus page, whizbangtraining.com/coronavirus, you'll see links to all of those programs and products, and you can learn more about them there.
And I will put a link to that one as well.
Okay.
The coronavirus page. That's our binge watch page.
That's right.
Where if you've missed any of the things we've done.
If you liked this and if this is the first time you've participated in a community forum, or if you've never seen our daily podcast, which is originally broadcast as a Facebook Live, there are 8 interviews with really, really smart people. If you want a whole bunch of retail information all in one place, and you're getting tired of the Tiger King, you can go to our binge watch page and get a lot of great retail training. Absolutely, all of it is absolutely free of charge.
That's great.
It's all of this is our way of helping you through this. So,
yeah, good. I think that is. That's it. We've got people saying we love your Retail Sales Academy. Retail Mastery System is great, especially right now. So really great training for employees. So a bunch of great stuff. So
yes.
Yeah, sure. And if you've got any questions, you can still call our office. We've got the call forwarding to Belinda's house. Yeah. So you can look up our phone number.
We're coming from our basement.
Yeah. Yep. You can look it up on our website, whizbangtraining.com, and look up our telephone number and give us a call and ask any questions about any of those things.
We're there for you. You are the reason we are here. Anything that we can do to help you, make it through the pandemic, and just as importantly, once we get through this, to really, really, really thrive. We're not talking about survive. We're talking about thrive. To position yourself for greatness, this is what we're all about.
Summer Allen says, because you made the reference to the Tiger King, the
okay.
Lion King,
right.
different. Lion King, different. The Tiger King, she says, all the cool cats and kittens join the Retail Marketing Club. Well, that's coming up in an hour.
Yeah,
so
that's going to be there in an hour.
We'll see all you cool cats and kittens right there. I love that.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin says, come on down to the gift shop with me, y'all, you cool cats and kittens.
I can't even do a Joe Exotic.
Please don't.
If I don't get a haircut soon, I'll have to get my mullet going.
You're gonna have a mullet. Right.
All right.
Good.
So everybody, we are so honored that you chose to give us an hour of your time here. Like I just mentioned, you're the reason that we do what we do. Helping you survive and thrive is why we get up in the morning. Sometimes it's because we can't sleep because of general coronavirus anxiety. But, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see some of you here in,
an hour.
In 53 minutes. All right. And if you don't know about our podcast, every morning, 9:30 a.m., about 15 minutes, Monday through Friday. We'd love to see you there too. All right, everybody. See you later.